But on a cheerier note, I got some good feedback on that last number, and I also wanted to ask because you are calling. I assume on your birth certificate you were not born and your parents named you Zen the Rapper, right?
They're not that cool, no.
So, since you picked that name, I was curious if you wanted to explain why it's important to you.
Yeah, for sure. So it's interesting because I tell people, Zen the Rapper, I go by Zen, right? When I'm at school, my students call me Mr. Zen. My bosses call me Mr. Zen, except for when they write the check. I make sure they know that it's not Mr. Zen at that point in time. But
I just saw a Judge Judy case like that.
Yeah. Okay. But it's it relates to my thirst for knowledge. And it was a time in my life when I was really trying to clarify my values. Again, I was 21, 22, 23, just graduating from college with a history degree, with all this information. I was feeling useless. It felt like it wasn't really giving me inroads towards a job.
Right. You've said history several times. Did you specialize in any particular history?
I didn't. And in undergrad, you don't really specialize so much. I was undeclared for the first couple of years, and then I had sort of my junior year was like I was into black intellectual history, black political history. I learned all about the story of America in the 19th and 20th centuries. And then my senior year, I went into history of science. And since then, it was like history of technology. It's sort of expanded. It's gotten deeper. Now I do ancient history and big history. I think it's interesting.
Well, I feel like anytime you study something, you realize how many layers.
Yes.
A telescope. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And I'm glad you said that too, because ZENtheRapper is actually about those layers. It was about I graduated, but I still wanted to kind of be a historian, still wanted to be a scholar, and I had read this book called The Little History of the World, which I actually don't really like the book. I don't know why I'm shouting. I don't know why I'm shouting it out. I don't like the way the perspective of the book.
I like the
overall.
I like the honesty.
Yeah, but The Little History of the World, I got to the point where they were talking about the axial age. The axial age.
And what's that?
It is a theory by German historian Karl Jaspers that there was this period in human history, where of about I think it's 1,000 or 1,500 years, which is crazy for a period, like a time. Like think about 1,500 years.
Right. That's even longer than I've been around.
It's a long time. But in the scope of human history and the history of the world, it's not actually that long. So within that 1,500 years was when the major world religions got their star, their prophet or their beginning. So his thing of calling it the axial age was trying to investigate that historically. Why?
AXIO?
AXIAL.
Axial.
Axial, which I'm not even sure what that means, but I think it will clue you in to what he's talking about a little bit.
I was just thinking I might do some reading about it later. So
yeah, no, it's very interesting, and it's these big questions, and that's where ZENtheRapper comes from.
Okay.
Because I didn't know anything really about Zen, but I had encountered it, and I had this kind of inkling that this sort of strain of knowledge and information would be something that could occupy me as a post-grad. And now it's it means everything and nothing. And your name starts to kind of mean nothing as it goes on. It's just like what people call you, and it means whatever you do. So
well, and except when they order people alphabetically, Z is a cool initial to have.
Yeah, that's true.
As long as you don't mind going last, sometimes it's to distinguish, J or a lot of letters everybody has. So
my elementary students would say, I would hate having Z. They want A. Back of the line's not. It's like a death sentence in elementary school.
I used to have a teacher. I think she had a nervous disorder, and she'd say we were only allowed to talk if our name started with a Z. And I wasn't thinking about the fact that if my name did start with Z, she'd probably pick Q.
Yeah.
She just didn't want us to talk. But
my favorite thing as a teacher recently is to kind of not to trick kids. I don't trick kids, but sometimes you have to distract children to encourage and increase their mindfulness. Which is actually true.